after you identify this person who is going to write you the letter, the second thing you want to do is to be very specific when you're asking them for the letter. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, hello. My name is Grace Patrice. I'm a third-year medical student at the Mayo Clinic Alex School of Medicine. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about the 5 main areas why pre-medical students do not get into medical school. I've gotten this question so many times over YouTube comments, emails, Instagram DMs about people trying to get into medical school and not being able to or failing the first time. I was in that position 3 years ago. I made a video about it, linked up right here. But basically, I just want to talk about some crucial areas of the application that can be overlooked, especially when you're applying to medical school, not realizing that those areas are weak areas. So let's get right into it. The first area that I want to talk about is the GPA. I'm just going to cut to the chase and say that one big reason why pre-medical students do not get into medical school is because their GPA is low. I looked up the statistics and the average GPA for the 2022-2023 cycle was around a 3.77, and that is really high, which in my shoes, I didn't even have that coming out of undergrad. So if you're watching this video and your GPA is on the lower side, I would highly recommend that you apply to a master's program or a post-bac program to boost your GPA. The reason why your GPA is so crucial is because it's an accumulation of what you've been doing over the years. And I know that admission cycles also would look at your upward trending GPA. So if you didn't do well your first year, but your third and fourth year was pretty uptrending. But the truth is that they look at the numbers to filter people out. And you want to make sure that you're getting at least the numbers that's going to get you inside the door for someone to look at your application. So if your GPA is on the lower side, I would recommend a master's program or a post-bac program. I personally tend to lean towards the master's program because you get another degree and you get another GPA, so you can start fresh, as opposed to your post-bac where your GPA from your post-bac is going to factor into your undergraduate GPA. If you want recommendation on master's program, I have a video linked up here or coming out soon that will talk about the 5 top master's programs for pre-medical students. The second thing that I want to talk about is the MCAT score. And I'm smiling because, oh my goodness, I know the stress of going through it and taking the MCAT, especially if you have to take the MCAT multiple times. I was a 2-time MCAT taker. The first time I took the MCAT, I got a 503. I applied to medical school with that and my low GPA, and I didn't get in. And the second time I applied to medical school, I got a 509 and I got into so many medical schools. And I think what helped me was that even though my MCAT score was not 99th percentile or in the teens, I was able to make the minimum requirement for most schools, including most top ranked schools that my application was looked at holistically. So if your MCAT score is on the lower side, I would recommend that you take your exam again. However, when you're taking your exam again, you need to take 2 things into consideration. That is, you need to ask yourself why you didn't do well on the first one. Was it simply a matter of time? You didn't have time to study? Either you're in college and you're just juggling a bunch of classes and the MCAT, or you're just working full time and you honestly didn't have the time to prepare and put in the work for the MCAT. If time is your issue, I'd recommend that you set aside significant amount of time, at least a month of dedicated studying, especially if you're consistently on the lower side and you know that you need more time to just understand and absorb things and find your rhythm and a way of studying. If it's not a matter of time, so if you had time but you're still not doing well on these exams, I would seriously recommend that you take a prep course. Prep courses can be very, very expensive. However, I do feel that if you take a prep course, example the Princeton or the Kaplan, $515 guaranteed or your money back, I would highly recommend you do it and spend all your time on the class. So I know a lot of people that have like taken these prep courses and still don't do well. And anytime I interview them, the reason why they don't do well is that they don't do everything that a prep course requires them to do. That's like the pre-class assignments, the post-class assignments, all the exercises. Like people don't do all of them because you're an adult and you can choose what you want to do and what you don't want to do. But if you're taking a prep course, first of all, you're spending so much money, over like $1,000 or $2,000. So you need to put in the work. You need to do every single assignment that is assigned to you and reach out to your tutors, your teachers on these like courses, and like make sure you are getting explanations for things you don't understand and stuff like that. And hopefully you can make it. If you don't have the money for a prep course, or like a prep course is like so much money and you it's not an issue of time, and you feel like you want to talk to someone one-on-one to help you come up with like a study strategy, a study schedule, guess what? I have a new consulting firm. The link is down below. You can reach out to me, choose one of the options that work best for you, and we will together come up with a study strategy that can help you ace the MCAT. The next section of the application that I really want to talk about is your extracurricular activities. Now, this place can look very cookie cutter. However, there are just some basic things that you need to do as a pre-medical student to check the box. Unfortunately, these are like checklist items. You need to do them, and like you just need to do them and have them on your application. The first thing is research. Sometimes research can get so overwhelming because it's like, Grace, I'm not in the lab, I'm not doing any fancy science research. But the truth is that it doesn't have to be science related at all. It can be any kind of research. As long as you've spent a significant amount of time doing this, you have a mentor, and hopefully either you get a publication that's a paper, or you go present it somewhere, be in like a larger class setting. As long as it has like a PowerPoint presentation and you have people that you're talking to, it counts. Or you can do like a poster or an abstract. These all count for the research requirement for medical school. And the reason why research is so important is because medicine truly is based on research and based on discovery, because it's through research that we are able to find new treatments and new ways of doing things in medicine. So research is, just do your best to get it. And I feel like a lot of undergraduate programs these days around the country have some elements of like research. Either you take a research class, or like you do like a thesis project and like all of those good stuff. So start looking around if you do not have research experience. And that's another reason why the master's program is important. If you are able to get into the master's program, a lot of the master's programs do have these like longitudinal research projects where you can like collaborate with other class members. So in those ways, the research is not so much that it's just you. It can actually divvy it up and it still counts towards your research credits. The next thing I wanted to talk about is exploration of medicine. So admission committees want to know how well you are exploring medicine. They want to know how sure you are that medicine is right for you. Medical school is very expensive, and it's a big investment for medical schools to invest in someone who comes into medical school and realizes that medicine is not for them. So medical school wants to make sure that you truly want to do this. You truly want to be a physician. Medical school is not easy. Residency is not easy. Being an attending is not easy. Simply put, medicine is not easy, and we want to make sure that you are committed, that once you get into medical school, you're really going to do the work you're supposed to do and become a great physician. So the way that medical schools can determine if that's what you're truly about is to look at the way you've been exploring medicine. The basic minimum requirement, even if you don't get to explore medicine anyway, anyhow, you need to shadow. Like, you need to have shadowing experience. You should have at least 20 hours minimum of shadowing a physician somewhere where you get to like see how a physician behaves, see how a physician interacts with their patients, and just see how medicine is run in general. But this is my own opinion. Shadowing is very boring. You follow a physician, you're in a little corner, you're breathing air, you're not doing much. It's just like, oh my God, get me out of here. I cannot stand when I have to just be still and not do anything. I mean, I like it sometimes, but other times, I just want to also interact, and I feel like that's how I personally learn. So shadowing is like the basic minimum requirement. A big question that I get all the time is like, how do I get shadowing experience? If you go to a big name school, or you go to a school that has a hospital, cold email physicians and be like, hey, I'm interested in medicine. I'm kind of interested in your specialty. I want to see how peds is done. I want to see how neurology is done. I just want to see how surgery luxury is, can I come in and shadow you for a day or two? And some will not reply. That's just the hard truth. But some will. And for those that will, make time in your schedule and go shadow. Once again, a minimum of 20 hours I feel is enough. Some people do like 40 and 80 and 100. I'm like, you go girl, you go boy. But your 20 hours I think is good, especially if you just don't have that luxury of time and that luxury of like, you know, I went to the University of Virginia and the hospital was literally like a 5-minute walk. It was right there. After shadowing, I feel like shadowing is the minimum. The one thing that medical school like is actually like paid employment. So if you can do anything, be it like a medical scribe, be it a medical assistant, EMT is a really good one because you're like really hands-on. You're actually part of the patient's care. It's also a good one. Nursing aid, nursing, CNA, like all of those things really count. So if you have those experiences, please write about them heavily in your application. Make them like one of the significant things about like your application. The next thing about the extracurriculars that I feel is like totally underrated is your hobbies. Oh my God, guys, you need to write about your hobbies because I feel like those are things that help people stand out. Because after admission committee looks at these like applications multiple times, honestly, it becomes the same. Everyone is doing research. I told you to go do research. Everyone is doing shadowing. Everyone is doing EMT. Everyone is doing medical scribe. It's like, oh, they all look the same. What makes them different? One thing that will help you stand out is your hobby. So if you enjoy baking, if you enjoy hiking, okay, those are like the really boring ones. I mean, you can write about them, but just let you know they are boring. Everyone bakes and everyone likes to hike. But like unique things, so like if you like to sew, I think it's something you can write about. If you like to do poetry, it's something to write about. I was helping someone apply to medical school and she was like a relationship coach. I was actually like really interested. I was just like, oh girl, tell me more. Tell me what you've been advising other people. Because she was like, oh, you know, she went through like a really bad breakup and she started this like relationship coach thing and she was actually making money off of it. And I feel like that's like something medical schools will be like, oh, tell me more. Obviously, after you've like made the cut for like GPA, MCAT, and like all the other stuff. Not like your GPA is bad, your MCAT is bad, but like you have this like awesome hobby. No one's gonna care. As a matter of fact, they wouldn't even see your application because it'll just filter through. But moving back onto what I'm saying, exciting hobby. So for me, I remember writing about Korean dramas because at that time I was really a big Korean drama fan. I'm still am, but just like I barely get the time now to watch Korean dramas. So unfortunately, I don't know like the latest ones, but just write about like exciting things and things you're like, you know, passionate about and just like things that like drives you and moves you. And with me, for residency applications coming up, one of my hobbies that I'm going to be talking about would be like my YouTube channel and stuff because I barely get time to like pursue a real hobby aside from this. So have fun with that section. Obviously, don't write anything too crazy and like too like out of this world, but just something that would like put a smile on someone's face and be like, that's interesting. I want to talk to this person. Absolutely do it. The next thing I want to talk about that I feel like a lot of pre-med students do not spend a lot of time on is your personal statement. So for this one, I have a video on my personal statement. I'm gonna link it right up here below. I highly recommend you write it. A lot of people gave me good feedback on that essay. That was a good one. And the thing about personal statement is that unless you have like a 4.0 GPA and a 520 MCAT, you can write a boring cookie cutter personal statement and honestly still get into a very good medical school. However, I always recommend, especially if you're aiming for like really top tier schools where everyone is going to have high GPAs and high MCAT scores, is to have a stellar personal statement. You want to sit down and truly think about yourself and write about who you are, what takes you, what moves you, what drove you to medicine, and also look at the qualities the AAMC is looking for in someone who wants to go into medical school and write along those lines. I talk about personal statement a lot in my personal statement video, so I'm just not gonna go into details for that one in this video. Guys, I saved the best for the last, and the part of the application cycle I feel is ultimately important. This part of the application cycle is so overlooked that I cannot tell you the amount of times that people genuinely have good things about their application, but they don't get into medical school. And the reason why is your letters of recommendation. Guys, letters of recommendations are so important. And I feel like this is the part of your application that can make or break your application, especially when everyone looks the same. Okay, GPA, MCAT, extracurriculars, everyone is just like bomb, 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 bomb. It's like, okay, who are we gonna pick? Especially for a school like mine where they usually take less than 50 students a year. You have to stand out some way, somehow. And the way to stand out is in your letters of recommendation. And I feel like this is a part of the application that med schools love, because you do not have control over your letters of recommendation. So you waive it, you don't see it, and more importantly, this is somebody else talking about you. And a lot of the time, some letters are quite frankly subpar. It's gonna be a bunch of like 5 sentences or 2 sentences being like, oh, so and so took my class, they were a great student, they are interested in medicine, like recommend. No. When you're applying to medical school, you need to tell your letter writers, well, first of all, when you're going to ask someone to write you a letter, you need to make sure 2 things: that they know you very, very well. And that can be hard, especially if you go to a medical school where the classes are big and you don't know any of your professors. So if you're a 2nd year pre-med or a 3rd year pre-med watching me right now, you need to like target some people now, a year ahead, and make sure you know them and you're always reaching out, so that when it comes to time for you to ask, it's not awkward. You're not like hiding behind an email saying, hi sir, I hope you remember me, when you know they don't remember you. Like, I'm applying to medical school and I need like a letter of recommendation. No. Ideally, you want to ask people that know you, one, that like you, because someone can know you, but they will not like you, and they really will not be forthcoming, and they'll go write you a letter that quite frankly would hurt you, especially when it's like, it's a make or break and they're trying to like select outside of like MCAT and GPA. So after you identify this person who is going to write you the letter, the second thing you want to do is to be very specific when you're asking them for the letter. You need to say this. Go grab a pen and write it down. Dr. So and so, I'm applying to medical school. I would like to ask you, would you write me a great letter of recommendation? It's very important to qualify what kind of letter you want out of them. If they're not going to write you a great letter, honestly, peace out and move on to the next person. When I was applying to medical school the first time, I remember reaching out to a couple people and they were very honest with me, and they were like, I don't think I can write you a very strong letter of recommendation. And I was so grateful they were honest to me. I was like, you know what, thank you very much for being honest with me. I really appreciate it, because the last thing you want is for someone to tell you that, yeah, I'll write you a letter, and then you find out later that like, oh my God, that wasn't like a strong letter, it was just like 5 sentences or 8 sentences. The minimum you want is a 1-page letter. I think a 2-page letter is like ideal. 1.5 is very ideal, because this is showing that, wow, this person like genuinely knows you and genuinely cares about you. If you're able to identify someone who, 1, likes you, and 2, wants to write you a letter, but really doesn't doesn't have much to say, ask them, I'm happy to do an interview with you. Do you want me to bring in my resume? Because one of my letter writers actually did that, and I was like, after the experience, I was like, oh, that was like really good. I feel like he got a lot out of me in that like 1-hour interview of him asking me questions, as opposed to me just like, sending my CV over email. And it was just like a really nice time chatting with my mentor, who's in UVA. I'll never forget it. He was like, yeah, I'll be happy to write you a letter. Come over to my office. Let's have like an interview. And then he asked me how I grew up, how I moved to the United States, things I'm like interested in, my passion, which kind of field of medicine I wanted to go into. So I feel like he got like a really good sense of who I was. And throughout my interview season for medical school, a lot of my interviewers told me that your letters of recommendations were very strong, and that's something I'm always grateful for like my letter writers. I still keep in touch with a lot of them, and I'll just like email them over Christmas, over Thanksgiving, just be like, hi, I still remember what you did for me like 3 or 4 years ago. Like, thank you so much. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're like, having a good life and stuff like that. So guys, yeah, that's it. Those are the main things that I have for you if you are in this boat of like applying to medical school, especially in this season, and you didn't get into medical school. My consulting services are available. Just look in the link below, go in there, choose which kind of service you want, and I'm more than happy to help you. I've been there. I know how it feels when you don't get into medical school. I know how it feels when you've gotten 20 rejection emails. I know how it feels when you call a school to check up on your application. You're like, girl, you're denied, but we're just like waiting to send the denial letter. I don't know what they call it these days. Denial letter? Rejection letter. I said denial letter. Rejection letter. Just the emotional exhaustion. Oh my God, that goes through with these applications. And the worst part is that it's a year long. So I really feel for you, but I know that because you are watching this video, God sent you right here. The word of God says that we should always seek help when we need it. There's a particular verse I like, and I'm gonna find exactly where it is. It says that, like, it's in Jeremiah, and it says that then you will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." And I feel that, like, it's okay to reach out to people to help you, because after I didn't get into medical school the first time, I looked at my application and I was like, I need help. And for me, I needed professional help. I needed to go get a master's degree. I needed to get a program that would not only help me boost my GPA, but truly boost my CV, boost my resume, and make me look like the outstanding person that I was and I didn't know at that time. And I just want to tell you that refusal is not denial. I don't know how to say it, but basically the fact that you didn't get into med school the first time doesn't mean that you're not qualified to be a doctor. What it means is that you're not ready to go to medical school right now. And that's okay, because guess what? You have time. By God's grace, you're not going to die, nothing's going to happen to you. You have time to work on your application, revamp yourself, and apply to medical school. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to share, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to comment, don't forget to send it to people that need help to get into medical school. And together, we're going to do it. Thank you so much for watching my video. Bye-bye.